it's Julie Davison from juliedavison.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make the floating pop-up card with 4 little squares that look like they are floating on the inside of the card. It's really quite easy to make this card. We need 2 main pieces of cardstock. I'm using the color Calypso Coral to go with the Happiness Blooms designer paper. I've got my first piece is a regular card base. This is 5.5 by 8.5. Scored at 4 1/4 down the middle to form a standard card size. Then the piece on the inside is 1 inch by 8.5 inches, and I've scored it into 4 sections that are equal: 2 1/8 inch, 4 1/4 inch, and 6 3/8 inch. Those are my score marks to create the score lines that create, oops, I did that backwards. It's going to be this way. You're making a W when you fold it. And that's going to attach to the inside of the card to create the pop-up. It folds in on itself so that when you close the card, everything is inside. The pieces on the front of the card, let me share those measurements with you. For the front, I've used a layer of Night of Navy that is 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And then the designer paper on top is 3.5 inches by 3 inches. And the piece on the bottom is 3.5 by 1 3/4. And I'm using a little bit of the Calypso Coral ribbon to go across the front and tuck around to the other side. Let me show you the rest of this gorgeous paper. This is the Happiness Blooms designer paper from the 2019 Occasions catalog from Stampin' Up. There is about 1 month left on this catalog, so if you haven't gotten any of these goodies yet, make sure that you order now. And you can do that on my website at juliedavison.com/shop. This Happiness Blooms designer paper is so bright and fun. It comes in 12 by 12. I've just cut it down here to 3 by 3 squares so I can show you a little easier these awesome fun patterns. And like all of our designer paper, it is double-sided, so you get fun patterns on each side that are bright and beautiful. One of the things I love about this Happiness Blooms designer paper is that it coordinates with the Bitty Blooms punch pack. Now you can get the punch pack by itself for $23 US, or you can get it bundled with the stamp set Bloom by Bloom, and that is only $36 for that bundle. The punch pack not only punches out some of the images in the stamp set, it also punches out images from the designer paper. So you can line up your punches and punch out those images and use them on your project. The punch pack includes 3 different shaped flowers, and the 4th punch is a leaf and a flower center. I used the punch pack with plain cardstock to embellish my card. You can see that here I used the coordinating colors of Calypso Coral, Lovely Lipstick, Night of Navy, Call Me Clover, and Pineapple Punch on both the outside and the inside of the card to coordinate with the designer paper. The squares I'm using on the inside are 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 designer paper, and then layered onto the navy cardstock that is 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. Now I've used 4 squares, all from the same designer paper here, and so it's really easy to layer those. In fact, with the magic of video, I've got them all layered and ready to assemble. I'm going to show you how to assemble the inside of the card. After we fold that strip in the middle into a W shape, we're going to use adhesive only on the ends. I prefer to use the tear and tape adhesive, which is a nice strong adhesive so that the card doesn't come apart when it is humid. And we are coming close to those humid months here in Central Illinois, and so we want to make sure that the card stays together and doesn't fall apart. Now notice I'm only putting adhesive on the edges. You don't want to put any adhesive on the middle so that the card can have that floating effect. So we're going to adhere this down to the card by just taking off the tear and tape backing. And when you're laying this strip down into the card, you can make it flat. As long as there's not adhesive on the middle, it won't attach to the middle. So I'm lining up the score lines and the edges of the cardstock, and then when I fold the card, it will keep everything inside. We're going to use some tear and tape as well on the back of the squares. In fact, it's probably easier to put the tear and tape on the middle of the strip so that it goes in the right place and your squares can be centered. So I'm just going to put a little bit in each place, and then I'll add the squares centered inside. And there is the floating pop-up. You can add the stamps and again the punched flowers to embellish the inside of the card as I've done here. The greeting stamp set that I used is called Incredible Like You. It's also in the Occasions catalog and it coordinates with the Incredible Like You project kit. I love the way the sentiments have mixed fonts, and I used one on the front and one on the inside of my card. Let me show you a couple more samples of the floating pop-up card. This one uses the Geared Up Garage suite from the Occasions catalog. We've got the really awesome cog embossed in the background with a small die cut one, some faux washi tape with the classic garage designer paper, and then on the inside for the floating squares I alternated designer paper and stamped images. Here's another version. This one uses the Celebration Botanical Butterfly designer paper that is no longer available, but I cut different squares again on the inside and punched out the butterfly with the butterfly duet punch. I have one more sample to share with you. This is one that I created with brand new products that will be available starting June 4th from the new annual catalog. This is called the Follow Your Art Suite, and it has a stamp set, designer paper, and a really fun embellishment with felt flowers. Not flowers. Well, there's flowers. Flowers, hearts, arrows, and other shapes. On the inside, I've used squares of designer paper, and you can see some more of the stamped images, Follow Your Art, and the fun little pens. I hope you like this project, the floating pop-up card, and that you'll give it a try at home. Thanks so much for watching. Happy stamping!